Welcome back to the Hoodneys Fantasy Football Podcast. This is the Week 16 starts and sits. I got my dogs with me here, MFB
Yes, sir.
and BBTB.
Semifinals, boys. If you made it, best of luck.
Yep. And just as a kind of warning, we have these starts and sits. We did not hit very well last week. So I'm just going to have this disclaimer. We give you guys the starts and sits. Ultimately, you go with your gut. If you like our reasoning, then you can go with what our suggestion is. If you don't like our reasoning, then you can just make your own decision. Or if I say something is stupid, these guys will tell me that was kind of stupid, and vice versa. It happens. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll start with QBs. I'll start us off with my QB start of the week is Matt Stafford. The Rams are in a divisional race right now. They're top of the division, but there's I think Seattle's right behind them with the same
Correct.
record. And the Jets defense has been getting worse. We've noticed them giving up more points to wide receivers and to quarterbacks. They let Mac Jones score 18.6 fantasy points. Brian Thomas had himself a game. We have Cooper Kupp last week with a straight donut. I don't think he does that 2 games in a row. I think that they get him more involved. He's going to go off. I think Matt Stafford will be the benefactor. Start Matt Stafford this week.
I could definitely see it. I'm not mad at it. Like you said, division's close. Matt Stafford got to start balling out.
Yep.
Yeah. If Stafford's the guy that you need in the semifinals somehow, click it and ship it.
Cool. MFB, give us your QB start of the week.
My QB start of the week is a guy who balled the hell out last week, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Even though they were already eliminated before last week's game, he still went out and showed out, him and Devontae Adams. I think they do it again. They play the Rams, and they just planned to ruin dude's moments. So I think Aaron Rodgers is a solid start this week.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think, I would be scared to start him in my fantasy finals or semifinals, but against the Rams, it's not a bad matchup. And we talked about this. They're going to go out there and have fun. So he could be, help you get to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
BBTB, go ahead and give us your very obvious QB start of the week.
I don't know. It's very obvious. I don't know if you guys really know this guy's name. He might be like the number 2 fantasy player. It's Josh Allen. Play Josh Allen. You're obviously going to play him. Everyone knows you're going to play him. The reason why I'm making it obvious, why? It's Josh Allen. He got you to the semifinals. Let's work. He got me to the semifinals.
So
do you think there's teams out there that had Josh Allen and didn't make playoffs?
Depending on when they drafted him.
If it was like a 10-man league, yes. If you're in a 16-man league and you got Josh Allen, brother, and you ain't make semifinals, you're tripping.
No, not possible. You would have to have been the worst drafter on earth and just not been active.
10-man is possible.
There has to be some stat that
I'm in one 10-man league. I just checked, but the guy is in semifinals with Josh Allen.
Yeah, of course. For sure, if you weren't in playoffs, he got you into playoffs with that week 14 game against the Rams, and then for sure got you into the next round. I lost to Josh Allen last week, and I just found out that the Lions tried to onside kick, gave Josh Allen the ball, and he was able to get a quick little
that
touchdown.
decision was questionable.
And
Matt
so
Collins should have scored it. He got stopped at the 1.
that's
And then it became a Josh Allen to me.
Bro, so I'm telling you, everything worked. Yeah, so I didn't make semifinals, lost by 4? I was off by 4 points. So if Josh Allen had one less touchdown, it would have been, cool. But fat L for me. To the dome. Awesome. Love it.
Damn.
Don't think anybody's disagreeing with that start right there.
Yeah, Baby TV's upset that he's missed on a couple of these, so he's going easy.
I'm not upset. I'm like, it's gonna be fine.
You were upset. You were upset. Let's move on to the wide receiver starts the week. I'll start us off with Adam Thielen, who has been connecting with Bryce Young. He's had 7+ targets in the last 3 games. I think he's kind of a big part of that offense and really helping Bryce Young develop. They play the Arizona Cardinals, who they've been an on and off defense. It's a tight division. They need to win, but I think that Thielen will go out there. I think Leggett is injured, so they need to throw to somebody. I think Coker got a touchdown last week, a big one against the Dallas Cowboys, but that was just blown coverage. I think Thielen's going to be able to get into the end zone this game.
Yeah, I've been calling Thielen out ever since he came back, or like the second week he came back. So I like it.
I think Bryce Young's been doing good. I'm not fully co-signing this start though of Thielen just because Arizona hasn't given up too much on average the last 5 weeks to wide receivers. That's kind of the only thing drawing me away from it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'd love to see the Cardinals fire on all cylinders, and really shut down the Panthers and shut down Bryce Young and look really good on both sides of the field. That'd be great. But, a man can dream. And I think I'm just going to keep dreaming. MFB, why don't you go ahead and give us your wide receiver start of the week?
My wide receiver start of the week upset a lot of people last week, unless you had a bye. Or if you somehow slid by with him in your lineup, Cooper Kupp with the donut. Lightning does not strike twice in the same place. He will not get a donut next week. He will go dumb. Same reasons as Kimo said. Jets D isn't looking great. The Rams need to win. It's the tightest division race, literally right now, in all of the NFL. So Cooper Kupp will ball out and come back.
I like that.
I agree.
If you have Cooper Kupp in this fantasy semifinals right now, you were on bye last week, and I have him in a league, and I was on bye. So I am putting him in my lineup, and he should do just great. So I like the start.
Yeah.
BBTB, give us your wide receiver start of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to be giving obvious starts of the week, but I'm going to give myself a less obvious one. It's going to be Mike Evans. I'm just kidding. Mike Evans. Start him. He's going for 1,000 yards. Baker said he's getting him to 1,000 yards. Very simple.
Yep. We talked about it on multiple episodes. Mike Evans is trying to go for that 1,000-yard season. BBTB tried to call a Mike Evans sit against a tough Chargers defense. Man, we're not going to hit on all of these.
I feel like Mike Evans, bro. I feel like he might single-handedly carry you through the whole fantasy playoffs, bro.
I agree.
I could see that, bro. They get 100%. The Cowboys, and then they get the Panthers.
Yep. Yeah. And we mentioned in our midweek report, if you listen to that episode, we mentioned that Baker Mayfield mentioned that he is trying to get Mike Evans to break his record, or to keep his record, sorry. So, very good all around for Mike Evans. Start him. If you have him, you might end up winning your leagues. That'll do it for wide receivers. Let's move on to RB starts of the week. At the very top, I'll start us off with my RB start of the week. It's Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford's been playing. I mean, he took over for Nick Chubb, and he scored a touchdown. He had 7 attempts on the ground against Kansas City, 84 yards and a touchdown. And he gets the Bengals defense, which has not been amazing by any means. So if he can do that to Kansas City, he can probably do damage against Cincinnati. If you picked him up off the waivers and you had David Montgomery, or if you have Kamara and you just need someone that'll get you guaranteed points, you can slot him in, and he should be able to get you in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in the fantasy semifinals, good luck.
Nah, I mean, with what he put up against Kansas City, definitely put up some numbers, bro. So against Cincinnati, who's given up a lot to RBs, he could be that guy. Yeah, that's about it.
If you're in the fantasy semifinals, and like I said, you had Montgomery and you're desperate and you didn't really have a deep bench,
Kamara.
Huh?
Or if you had Kamara too.
Yeah, if you had Kamara and you don't want to wait till, Kendre Miller on Monday night, it'd be much smarter to do Jerome Ford if you want to take the risk and wait till Monday night, and then you may end up with Kendre Miller, then go for it. That's all. That's up to you. Trust your gut, like we said. Let's move on to MFB, RB start of the week.
My RB start of the week is James Conner. Simply following the trend of starting anybody, playing against the Panthers. Literally every RB has put up over 100 yards against the Panthers. James Conner guaranteed 100 yards against the Panthers. He's also just been going dumb.
Yeah.
Last week he went crazy. And he kind of just be naturally going dumb every playoffs, I feel like.
Yep.
So it's looking to be low-key like kind of like another Mike Evans call. He could be like the sleeper that just saves you this whole fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I watched the Cardinals. They lean heavily on James Conner and the run game. I don't know why they don't throw the ball more and they don't get it to their rookie or to their, star tight end. Why do that when you can run it with James Conner 100 times a game? But I think he will do great.
Yeah, and I personally think James Conner is very like an underappreciated kind of RB in fantasy. This year he went round 5. Last year he went round 4. Like he produces every year, especially the second half. So you got James Conner in the 4th or 5th round, man. It's kind of nuts.
Yep. BTB, give us your RB start of the week.
Jameer Gibbs. All right, next. Jameer Gibbs. Obvious. Why? Semifinals. Jameer Gibbs. Play him. 23.2 fantasy point projection in a full PPR league. Very simple.
Yeah. We mentioned in the midweek report of Jameer Gibbs' games without David Montgomery, and it's a ridiculous stat line, so he should feast in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious. You start Jameer Gibbs, you're not sitting him, obviously, and just start him with confidence. No Monty. It's a recipe for success. Let's move on to the tight end starts of the week. I will start us off with my tight end start of the week. Brenton Strange of the Jaguars. Mac Jones is going out there and having fun, throwing the ball a lot. He's making everyone look good. Brian Thomas having himself a nice couple games. No Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is on IR, so Brenton Strange is the next man up. He's dealing with a shoulder AC joint issue. If he plays, start him. If he doesn't play, obviously look elsewhere, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, I like that.
I could see this as a decent start. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I like it.
Let's move on to MFB's tight end start of the week.
My tight end start of the week, somebody much needed who missed last week in a Browns offense, and that is Njoku. Not to mention they play Cincinnati. Cincinnati's just been giving points all over, and they give a lot of points to tight end position. So I think Njoku's due for a game, especially with DTR starting.
Yeah, I like that. Because when DTR was starting for a little bit, at some point of the season, until I forgot, or last year,
he took over for Deshaun Watson in that game, and then eventually Jameis Winston stepped in that game.
Yeah, so I feel like DTR will find Njoku. I feel like that will be his number one target.
He may have, I think it's going to be his safety blanket. He's just going to look over for Njoku when other players are covered. Nice little safety blanket. Njoku's a great tight end, good hands, good player. I like the start.
Mm-hmm.
BBTB, go ahead and give us your tight end start of the week.
Going to be Trey McBride. Cardinals are playing decently, offensively. McBride is
You don't have to explain McBride. We know this one.
He's dog. But the reason why I have him in my start is because Kyler Murray, tweeting 85 needs to get the ball in the end zone. So it's his week versus Carolina.
Yeah, we discussed this in the midweek report. Kyler Murray did tweet out that he needs to get 85 in the end zone or find him in the end zone. Maybe if they schemed up some players for him to get in the end zone, that could work. So I don't know. If he makes good on his tweet, then likely the Cardinals will draw up or scheme up some play to get McBride into the end zone. and hopefully we'll see it this weekend. I'm hoping for it. I'll be happy to see that. So
Same.
that'll do it for the tight ends. Let's move on to the bonus starts of the week. I'll start us off with my bonus start of the week, and it's Jacoby Myers. He's starting the week off with he started the week off with a limited practice session, questionable with the ankle. He's had that for the last 3 weeks. Don't worry about it. He's going to play. He's playing for a contract on that Raiders offense, and didn't do so hot last week with the other is Ritter was the quarterback, but Aiden O'Connell is practiced in full. Aiden O'Connell will start this week, and they're playing against Jacksonville. You start your quarterbacks against Jacksonville, and their secondary is really weak. So Jacoby Myers should go out there and have himself a fine game.
Solid flex option.
Yep, I like this one.
MB, give us your bonus start of the week.
My bonus start of the week was taken out of the game last week due to concussion. I'm hoping he'll be back, and that is Zach Ertz. They get a divisional matchup. Philly has really, really great defense, but they have still given up a decent amount of points to opposing tight ends. I think even Pat Freiermuth still got in the end zone last week, right? Even against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of like the spot where the Eagles will be like, yeah, we'll let the tight ends get some points. So I got Zach Ertz having pretty much a ballin' game in a divisional race because the winner of that game will be at the top of the division, I believe.
No.
No.
No?
No.
No.
If the Eagles win, they're officially take over that.
They officially
yeah.
clinch.
They could stop the Eagles from
Clinching.
Yeah. I was going to say I called out Zach Ertz's revenge game, so I think Emma B is calling out Zach Ertz. Emma B, are you calling out Zach Ertz? Revenge game, though? There's a difference.
Against the Eagles? His former team?
What year did he play on the Eagles? What season was that?
That was when what's his name took over?
Before Goddard.
Goddard took over that season because Zach Ertz got injured, and then Goddard stepped in and played great, and they said see ya, and they let him go.
Traded Zach Ertz to the Cardinals.
Interesting.
Yep, he went to Arizona.
Cardinals to Washington.
And then Cardinals said, "No, we got Trey McBride, we're good." And then
Zach Ertz helped Philly get them to a chip. So MFB, let's say revenge game.
Revenge game.
All right, Zach Ertz revenge game. Start him. He's practicing, right? Because he has a concussion.
Is not practice.
All right. Well, if he's gonna make good on that revenge game, he will play this week. He'll blast through that concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
BBTB, go ahead and give us your bonus start of the week.
My bonus start of the week is going to be CeeDee Lamb. Why is it going to be CeeDee Lamb? I don't even know. It's just CeeDee Lamb, bro. CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, so your starts of the week are Josh Allen, Mike Evans, Jahmyr Gibbs, Trey McBride, CeeDee Lamb. Guys, those of you listening, BBTB has never hit on all 5 of his starts of the week. So
I have hit all 5.
All 5. Look, brother, like MFB said, lightning doesn't strike twice. All right. So if you have any of these players, be warned. BBTB has called them out. And
imagine I go 0 for 5.
Oh no! Oh, that can't happen because I have some of these players and I need them to. Can't.
I'd lose it.
I'll come. I will not record with you next week. I'm blocking you if that happens. That does. I mean, there's nothing else to say about CeeDee Lamb. That's a pretty good one, an obvious one. If he plays, he's dealing with some injury, but he does it every week. He ends up playing through it. Let's move on to the sits of the week. I'll start us off with QB sits of the week. My QB sit of the week, Patrick Mahomes. He has not been good through the season. And I'm sure if you had him, you probably picked up another quarterback. Hopefully picked up like Matt Stafford. Houston is playing very well. They shut Tua down last week, like completely. So Patrick Mahomes is probably dealing with his ankle's probably sore, or they're probably going to wrap it up for him. I don't think he's going to be that mobile. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for him. And I think that if you have an alternative option, look away from Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you guys feel like Patrick Mahomes was like the bust of the quarterback this year in the fantasy draft at his ADP?
QB bust, yeah.
Yeah. It's between him or Stroud, but yeah.
For the position where he was drafted at, I would say for sure Mahomes. He's had maybe like 2 fantasy finishes over 20 fantasy points. Like that, you can't have your third round. Hopefully, you didn't draft him in the second round, but third round pick doing that for you in your QB position. Jalen Hurts has been much better, had better games. What's his name? Lamar Jackson been way, way better. Josh Allen a million times better. So
Yeah.
I would say somewhat of a QB bust. But honestly, I'm putting him as my sit of the week. But man, one time I sat, like my stud QB, and it did not work out for me in the fantasy playoffs. So take this information with a grain of salt. MFB, give us your QB start of the week or sit of the week. Sorry.
My QB sit of the week, a name I just mentioned, it's CJ Stroud this week. Pretty much on the other side of that matchup against Kansas City. Kansas City D still locking down, doesn't allow a lot of points to QBs. So we'll see what Stroud can do. I think also the Texans are just kind of in like a weird spot. But actually, let me talk about that when I get to my running back start. Or running back sit, sorry.
Okay.
I like that a lot.
Go ahead, baby.
I was going to say, MFB, you called him out as your fade, QB to fade in the beginning of the season. So pulling off really, really well.
Honestly, we've called out CJ Stroud in the duds list like almost weekly this year. Like he had one, like 20
He's
plus.
Had one top 12 performance, I think, all season
against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Easy.
And week 4. So yeah, he's been in the duds list very often. So good call, MFB. He was going to be my QB sit of the week. And then I saw he's playing against Patrick Mahomes. And I said, you know what? Sit Mahomes. BBTB, give us your QB sit of the week.
Yeah, I have Caleb Williams. Sit Caleb Williams. Last week, or no, not last week. 3 weeks ago, he played Detroit, I think on Thanksgiving Day, 9:30 a.m. game. He wasn't good, man. I'll be honest. I know he had 26 fantasy points, but it all came towards like shitty time points. So if you're banking on shitty time points in the semifinals, then go for it. But I say you sit him.
I think it is. It's obviously a risky start to even run with Caleb Williams, but I don't know, man. Divisional game. The implied total is really good for that game. I think it's at like 40. Yeah, 48. So I don't know. Just because of those two factors, I think like it'll be decent for Caleb Williams. Maybe not 20 plus, but within 15 to 20. I would say.
Let's hope you don't have to start him in your fantasy semifinals. But I kind of agree with MFB on this one. He could be decent if they just let him go out there and just lob the ball around. Especially a divisional matchup. Yeah. We'll have to see if the weather's bad there over in Chicago.
It's 30-degree weather. FYI.
Interesting. Okay. Let's move on to the wide receiver sits of the week. My wide receiver sit of the week, I think, was my wide receiver sit of the week last week. DK Metcalf, man. He's just been dealing with injuries.
And you hit on that, too.
There you go. This is a really good matchup for wide receivers. I just think it's just going to be JSN. DK missed practice on Wednesday. He could have himself a game. But I'll be honest, if you're in the fantasy semifinals, you probably don't have DK Metcalf. If you do, oh man, this is a very important decision to make because, I mean, honestly, he has not been good. He had 3 targets last game, 6 targets for 4 receptions, 49 yards the game before. This could be his bounce back game and he could have himself a game, but I wouldn't be starting him with confidence. It's tough for me to trust DK Metcalf this week. If you don't have better options, roll the dice and have at it, and hopefully you get yourself a win. But I would be trying to find like Brian Thomas. He's been having himself a couple of good games. I would rather start Brian Thomas, but Maybe sometimes you start your studs. I don't know. It's up to you guys. But what do you guys think?
I was gonna say that MLB also called out last week that DK Metcalf hasn't gotten over 8 fantasy points against Green Bay whenever he's played Green Bay or whenever he's played Jair Alexander, something like that, right? MLB
Yep.
last week,
Yeah.
something like that. So great call out by MLB, man. Homie had only 4.3 fantasy points, so
Yeah.
that was obviously Chemo's sit of the week. So solid call. I like the sit too, man. Even though Minnesota, it says right here, they give number 1 to the receivers, which is a good thing for receivers, bad thing for the defense. But he's just been not DK.
I mean, yeah, if Geno plays, yeah, maybe you can roll the dice and just roll with him. But did he practice? Geno Smith practice this week?
I think he practiced in full, no?
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna check right now.
yeah, if it's Sam Howell, then yeah, definitely set DK. But if it's Geno Smith, good luck. Let's move on to MFB's wide receiver sit of the week.
My wide receiver sit of the week is somebody that went stupid last week for you, but definitely hard to trust for this week. And that is Terry McLaurin. Philly's been clamping wide receivers, giving up nothing to wide receivers. So I think Terry McLaurin probably going to get cuffed. It's going to be a tough game for Jaden to throw to him. I think for Washington to win, they just got to rely on the run game and definitely a lot of the scrambling game for sure if they want to try to somehow win this week.
Yeah, what you call it? It's Quentin Allen, man. Quentin Mitchell. He should be Defensive Rookie of the Year. That man is playing lights out. His nickname in Philadelphia is literally called Quentin Island because he's locking people up. He did the same thing against Terry McLaurin. I think he only had like few fantasy points.
He had 1 reception, 2 targets, 10 yards. So, yeah, 1.5 fantasy points in half. People.
Like I have Terry McLaurin scoring less than 7 fantasy points max. So,
oh man, this is if you have McLaurin, he probably got you to the semifinals. He's been having himself a solid year with Jaden Daniels. They've connected a lot, but yeah, this is a matchup you probably want to try to avoid starting him in. BBTB, give us your wide receiver sit of the week.
All right, we're gonna sit Tyreek Hill. This was my player to fade. I had Tyreek Hill out of the top 7. He's currently ranked the wide receiver 15. So I'm right on that. Plays the Niners. Niners, really good defense. Everyone's healthy. They got Greenlaw back. D-line looks good. They also got Hufanga back. So I don't know. I don't see Tyreek Hill doing anything.
Tyreek Hill's the wide receiver 7 on the year? 15?
15. Like in wide receivers. In full PPR. In full PPR.
In full PPR.
Yeah, half PPR could be different.
Okay.
I could.
Yeah, I mean,
I could check half PPR right now.
Man, last week was just
atrocious.
Dude, Tua did not. I mean, he had a catch at the end of the game, and it was like the defender also had it, and the defender just pulled it, and then it was an interception.
Mm-hmm.
Very unfortunate.
Stingly.
Yeah, it really sucked for if you had.
Definitely like a big first round bust. I think he'll probably pop off this week, though, especially if there's no Jalen Waddle. So I think that's something to look out for. It's projected to be a very close game with the Dolphins and the Niners. Niners obviously still trying to gun it for the division. Dolphins, very, very tiny probability they could squeak in for a wild card, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek Hill, by the way, is wide receiver 16 on the year in PPR scoring. But
16?
Yeah.
In half PPR, he's 20.
Dude, he's only ahead of Mike Evans, who missed 4 games or 3 games, and then AJ Brown, who also missed 3 games. So those are the next 2 in PPR scoring. So yeah, Tyreek Hill's been kind of a bust for his ADP, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about sitting him this week. Yeah. It may be a good, but if you have Tyreek, you're playing him. You know what I mean? Let's move on to the RB sits of the week. I'll start us off with my RB sit of the week. It's Isaiah Pacheco, who, to go along with Patrick Mahomes, has not looked good since he got back from his injury. He's been, him and Kareem Hunt have kind of been splitting carries. They're playing against Houston's had a really good rush defense. I don't see them doing a lot of work on the ground. He's kind of splitting with Kareem Hunt. He is getting more of the carries, but still, I don't think it's enough. They're about even split. Actually, last game it was even split.
It's a very even split between the two right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, he should be getting more carries as the games go on. But I still think it's not going to be enough for him to be good. You're going to be a touchdown dependent player, or he's going to be a touchdown dependent player. So I'd be looking to avoid playing him.
Yep, like that.
MFB, give us your RB sit of the week.
My RB sit of the week is Joe Mixon.
Huh?
And it's not necessarily just because they play the Chiefs, although that is a tough matchup in general.
Right.
But the Texans have found themselves in a situation where they have clinched the AFC South. They can in no way get the first bye, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So in that case, they might not even run Mixon a lot.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? You are literally playing like actually kind of for nothing, right?
Yeah.
You're playing against Kansas City. They already, I think I guess the Bills could catch up, but whatever, right? For their own situation, they're playing for nothing, right? They can't get the bye. They already clinched. You're not going to give probably 20 plus carries to Mixon. So
doesn't make sense.
That's kind of, we have a two-pronged thing. We have a tough matchup and we have this whole situation going on.
Yeah, and Mixon's dealing with an ankle injury too, so it's like, why run him to the ground? So you need that man for actual playoffs.
It may be a ankle injury, like they're just calling it that, and just kind of like your ankle's bothering you, and just keep telling him to say that, just so he doesn't play, and they can just rest him into
possibly
the playoffs. You never know, but I mean it's a crazy call. He probably got you to the playoffs, so if you have him, it's scary to think about that. BBTB, why don't you go ahead and give us your RB sit of the week?
My RB sit of the week is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. Give me a second. Ramondre, just had him. What's a good?
Sit Ramondre, guys. It's
Ramondre. You're probably not in the playoffs if you had Ramondre Stevenson. Just going to be real. They play Buffalo. Buffalo, great defense. Oh, number 2 to the running back, but it doesn't matter. Buffalo's good.
I mean, the Buffalo defense is good. I mean, they do give up a lot of points in the ground.
That stat is inflated to me still because of Derrick Henry. Just FYI.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they give more. Ramondre is one of my players to fade this season. If you had him, probably should just trade him away. But I mean, I don't think he gets more than like double-digit fantasy points.
Same.
Would you flex him? Like if you just needed a flex?
If you needed a flex, yeah.
Okay. All right. What if you had Montgomery and you had Ramondre?
Well, obviously Montgomery's out.
I mean, you needed to slot someone in. How about him or Alexander Madison?
Him.
Ramondre over Alexander Madison? Okay.
Yeah.
How about Jerome Ford? You picked up Jerome Ford off the waivers. Jerome Ford? All right. Just trying to gauge it. Let's move on to the tight end sits of the week. My tight end sit of the week is a very, very obvious one. I think everyone can unanimously agree that he's a bust. It's Kyle Pitts. He has been awful. I know they're giving Michael Penix the start over there in Atlanta, and Kyle Pitts could benefit from that, and he could just start going off, and they could just have a connection. You never know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would not be trying to put Pitts into my lineup. I would not be trying to depend on Kyle Pitts to win me my semifinals against a Giants defense that just hasn't given as much points to tight ends. And I think that's just due to the fact that teams get ahead early on and then they just run all over the Giants. They don't need to throw the ball. In a game that the Giants are for sure trying to lose, they might just let Michael Penix go out there and throw like crazy. And who knows, Pitts benefits from that. But I would be way too nervous to start Pitts. Keep him on the bench. Keep him on the waivers, actually. Don't start Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, easily.
MFB, go ahead and give us your tight end sit of the week.
Tight end sit of the week this week would be Hunter Henry for me. He's been a very, very solid option, like low key solid, not crazy high ceiling, but a very decent floor for most people. Against Buffalo, who pretty much is not giving up much at all to opposing tight ends lately. So definitely a sit for me.
Yep.
Yeah, no, Hunter Henry's been. I think he keeps splitting with who's the other one? Austin Hooper keeps getting targets. Yeah, he seems to find the end zone instead of Hunter Henry. So if you had Hunter Henry earlier, and we called him out a couple times, he had some decent weeks. It really sucks to see Austin Hooper go in there and just swoop in the touchdowns and things like that. So very stingy Buffalo defense. So I agree. BBTB, go ahead and give us your tight end sit of the week.
My tight end sit is going to be Cade Otton. And ever since Mike Evans came back, man, just not been producing. I don't know. Every single week you've probably said, okay, week 12, I'm still going to start him. He didn't perform. Then you're like, okay, he plays Carolina. Then he plays Raiders. He should be solid. Didn't do that good. So now, you should be fading him. Mike Evans trying to get that 1,000 yards. And Cade Otton is dealing with a knee injury. So he might not even play. So,
yeah. I mean, I think to me, it's like glaringly obvious of the downfall of Cade Otton, right? Like he thrived when the Bucs lost Evans and Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, then they start to Otton. Now Evans is back, so Otton's fallen off. So it makes sense. The sit makes sense, and the way the offense is operating makes sense.
Yeah. Come to think of it, we talked about in our other episode, and we also talked about it in this episode earlier about how Baker Mayfield mentioned that he's trying to get Mike Evans his 1,000-yard season. He's trying to keep his record alive, his streak. We've been looking at Cade Otton, like, dude, he's a big part of this offense. What happened? Do you think that Baker's been kind of keeping this in the back? He's been trying to get Mike Evans to his 1,000 yards, and so he just hasn't been targeting Cade Otton like over the last since he got back.
I don't think it's that. It's just like if you look at it like an experiment, right? Like, okay, before when they had Evans and Godwin, everything went to Evans and Godwin. Both of them get hurt. It goes to this new guy, Otton, right? And now Mike Evans is back. They also got the resurgence of Jalen McMillan now. So Otton fell off, bro. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
I feel like it's like 50-50 though.
Okay.
Like, pushing it for the 1,000 yards, but at the same time, On's not. Really.
Yeah, it's like double reason not to get him the ball.
Yeah.
Anyways, I like the sit. Let's move on to the bonus sits of the week. Starting with my bonus of the week, Tyrone Tracy, man, who has really been picking it up and is dealing with an ankle injury. But honestly, it was one of the waiver wire pickups of the year. The Giants just haven't been able to move the ball very much, especially with, Drew Lock, and man, they had Tommy DeVito, and then they put in the fourth string. I don't even remember his name. They had
Tim Boyle, I think.
Yeah, Tim Boyle they had him start. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? So the ball isn't really moving up the field. And just when we thought that all the volume was going to Tracy and he was finally starting to like really take over that backfield, they let Singletary get a touchdown last week. So poached a touchdown off him and ruined his value. So if you started him last week, you might not even be in semifinals. If you weren't in semifinals, it's tough to trust him just with the fact that they are sharing the backfield kind of, and Singletary they'll just throw him in and be like, oh, here, you can have some runs too. You can have the goal line carries. It's hard to trust him. So sit Tyrone Tracy. It's probably not a good idea to start him.
Yeah.
MFB, give us your bonus sit of the week.
My bonus sit of the week this week is Geno Smith. Minnesota is not the best matchup for QBs. They've been locking down QBs a lot. So nothing really, and also like Seattle passing hasn't been as good as it probably should be. It could regress or it could just like stay this way. There's only a couple weeks left, but the way Geno's been looking is not good. So.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. He's been not doing so hot. JSN kind of carrying him. Good sit. BBTV, go ahead and give us your bonus sit of the week.
Yeah, my bonus sit is going to be Tua Tagovailoa. You probably got bounced out last week if you played Tua Tagovailoa. I'm sorry. I'm just being hella real with you, bro. Worst quarterback performance, less than 4 fantasy points. Man's been going crazy, over 23 plus fantasy points past 4
Tua
games.
or Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
And this, yeah, man. Bro, if you had either of those guys, you're probably not in semifinals. I, for one, had Tua last week. I've said about 18 times now, and I got bounced. So that was his worst fantasy performance of the season. The second worst fantasy performance was the one where he got concussed and left the game. So he did worse in this game than in the game where he got concussed and left the game.
Yep, it'd be like that.
I don't even know.
Yeah, don't play Tua, man. I'm so sorry. Don't play him.
I think, yeah, is Waddle practicing? Did Waddle practice? Because Waddle was in that game. He didn't play. So with no Waddle, with no Waddle, he struggled to find anyone out there.
He didn't practice Wednesday.
Not practicing.
Yeah, if Waddle doesn't play, then oh man, it's so hard to trust Tua. And after that performance last week, you're probably not even in playoffs. So yeah, I agree. You go ahead and sit Tua.
Yeah, but probably
Nothing much there.
John Smith is still going to eat somehow. So
That's his favorite target. So Jonas Smith will be just fine.
Yeah.
But that does it for the starts and sits of the week. I hope it leads you guys to your fantasy finals. If we steer you in the wrong way, please join the Discord and come cuss us out, and we'll respond. If you're having start and sit decisions between two players, just ask us in the Discord, guys. We'll get back to you. We'll let you know. And then, like we said, go with your gut. And then hopefully end up making it to the finals. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.